Ha ha ha. Do you know what really helps for hearing me talk? Headphones.
You know why? So Joe Rogan said that the other day.
What?
Why? Because one of the guys had like this.
Why?
Some people do this. Then they do that in studios. You know, so you can hear like singing and stuff.
Yeah.
People will do that. And then he's had a couple guests that didn't want to wear the headphones at all. But he says the main reason to wear headphones is that you hear somebody so clearly that you won't interrupt them.
I don't miss a beat.
Yeah. So
I'll still interrupt you.
Well, I was doing that on purpose, but
I don't think I've ever missed a word you have said. Mm-hmm. I feel like what you say become my thoughts. Like that's how palpable it is in the headphones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're like right in there. Yeah.
I know everyone else hears this audio is coming in clear, but like it's really clear when we're just hearing it direct feed.
Yeah, direct. It's like double Dolby.
Double Dobsters.
It's like when you go to the movie theater and they always do the little demonstration right there.
Yeah.
It's like, you're like, fuck yeah, here we go. But the movie's never as great as that part.
No, the way that sound opens up, I'm like, this is going to be a great fucking night.
Yeah.
It never is.
And then, the sound is never as good.
No. What the top film with sound for you?
I think the one coming up is going to be top film for sound for me. I'm hoping, praying, and I'm hoping it opens up at IMAX. They filmed it like fucking 3 years ago. The new Top Gun. I think the sound on that should be pretty badass. Because I remember the first Top Gun, the sound on it was bad. The lightsabers were pretty badass.
Yeah.
I went to Empire Strikes Back when I was a kid.
Yeah, no,
that was like vroom, vroom.
That was really cool. I think top sound to me, and this is the first one that comes to mind, Saving Private Ryan. The audio.
Yes. Yeah,
the audio.
Yeah. That was amazing. Yeah.
Like nothing I've ever experienced.
Yeah, on D-Day. Yeah.
Yeah. Audio quality, everything that was
was
happening.
Intense. That scene made me sweat.
Do you know that scene was the exact length of time it actually took for that beach to take the beach?
That's crazy.
That beachhead scene, they had it down to the second. The whole thing. Everything you experienced, the amount of time it took them to get up to the turrets that the Nazis had up there, that is the exact length of time. How cool is that?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's great. I like when they do little things like that.
That's fun.
It's always the detail that they take to go in the movies, and then we just kind of watch it real quick and go next because there's just so much out there.
But you can't appreciate it. Actually, I lied. You know what took Saving Private Ryan for me? Like the audio on that one? Dune. Most people didn't like the film. You know, it was a little too much for them to understand. The new Dune, the audio in that film was just as grand and vast as the size of scale.
I saw the Dune in the theaters. It was kind of that I didn't get. I think
once part 2 comes out, and then you can watch them back to back.
Yeah, maybe
it's going to change the game for a lot of people.
I understood the movie. I watched. It was like 2.5 hours long or something, close to 3 hours.
Yeah,
and I watched it at Flicks. Brew house.
Flicks.
That's the only place I go. I can't. Flicks ruined me.
Yeah.
Ruined me.
I can't go back to a regular theater.
I can't go to a regular theater.
Somebody hand me a beer and
unless
burger.
I sneak it in, and then I got to have my girlfriend bring like a big bag.
I used to have this massive LL Bean trench coat, like duster, huge. It was like Gore-Tex, super had I belonged in the Arctic in this thing. It had so many pockets. It probably weighed 45 pounds on me, this amount of stuff I walk into a theater with.
That's awesome.
Every type of food, every type of drink, and you'd never know. I look totally normal in it.
That's awesome.
Huge duster.
I brought like whiskey and stuff like that, like a small thing of whiskey, and then you just buy a soda.
Yeah.
And you can put a little bit of that in there.
Do you know what Amanda told me the other day? She's like, I want to be a whiskey girl. She's like, I look at these women drinking whiskey and they are badass. She's like, I really want to start drinking whiskey.
Oh yeah, she'll have to talk to my girlfriend because that's what we have, whiskey everywhere. Tequila and whiskey, that's kind of the thing. Her thing.
The game.
Yeah. Flight of the Ghost Rockets.
Oh, we're going back. This is part 2. Excellent. Yeah.
This is Bermuda Triangle part 2. So you need to listen to the first one.
Bermuda. You're saying
Bermuda.
Bermuda.
Is that them there Bermuda Triangle?
Let's try next week on Bermuda.
Flight of the Ghost Rockets.
All right.
So what is it? So on a voyage on an odd-tech vessel, and AUTC is a secret base in the Bahamas.
Andros Island. Blah, blah, blah. Listen to part 1.
Okay, summer of 1985, we were underway in the channel between the north end of Andros Island and Grand Bahama Island.
Okay.
Bound for a port in West Palm Beach, Florida.
So cool.
During the midnight to 4 o'clock a.m. watch, my watch partner and I sighted what I would later describe as 2 ghost rockets that flew side by side over our ship on a west to east trajectory. So let's get this right.
What year was this?
1985.
Do you know what year this is fucking nuts that you just said that. So apparently in the Billy Meyer material, the Plarion had bases all over Earth. Do you know what year they left?
1985?
1987.
Oh.
What year did they state in their material that they were down at the Bermuda Triangle with their deep underground base?
Yeah, this was the early 80s, yeah.
Right. 1985. How fucking cool is that?
Yeah, that's why.
They said that they had a base that they occupied for 3 years in the Bermuda Triangle.
That's crazy.
How cool is that?
I wonder if they were occupying Andros Island.
They could have been. They said they're so deep underground, like in the ocean.
Don't they look like humans?
They look exactly like humans.
Yeah.
Beautiful ones.
Yeah. So it's like all these hot peeps at this Andros Island. It's like one of those reality shows. There's one I have not. Love Island.
I've seen every episode.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's just smut. It's horrible. It's junk. No, and I say that because I love it.
But you can't. So it's basically you see super hot people.
Yeah.
They come on an island and they can't fuck.
No,
there's one. There's one that's
to.
that.
No, they're allowed to. The British one is the one I watched. They didn't give a shit about anything.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's a podcaster that went on there.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Type his name in.
Oh, here we go.
He's a famous podcaster, Chris Williamson. Just type in podcaster Chris. I think that's what his last name is.
Love Island. I can't believe we've been talking about this show on our show. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Congratulations, Love Island.
Yeah. But he's interviewed Jordan Peterson and all of them.
Yeah.
So these rockets, they were highly unusual, as neither made any sound.
Well, we know what that means.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're traveling at an oddly slow rate of speed.
We know what that means.
Which seemed impossibly slow while it was happening, and left behind contrails that glowed brightly, which were multicolored. In that the contrail smoke changed from white to green to blue to pink.
That's the coolest. That's like rainbow farts coming out of a UFO.
No, but think about it. So obviously, if you have a contrail smoke and it's changing, then something's happening to the propulsion.
I don't actually think they were contrails. I actually think that they were leaving a trail. They were changing like an electron cloud behind them, where the field of these ships were disrupting those gases that are actually coming out of that area in the Bermuda Triangle, and the interaction of that. Those electrons.
Created that, yeah.
So we have this issue on the moon. We have these like flashes and crazy colors that happen on the surface of the moon because there's gaseous releases, and the second the sun's radiation hits it, these electrons smashing into it,
right?
It creates these cool light patterns. So I'm thinking that maybe that's my very first thought.
Yeah, he said green to blue to pink with the smoke disappearing completely after about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So it lingered for 10 minutes. That's a long time. 10 minutes is a long time.
It's just chilling.
Smoke, yeah.
Yeah, it's not smoke then.
I estimate that they passed over us at an altitude of about 500 or so feet. Both rockets were white colored and perhaps 50 to 100 feet in length. That's a big fucking rocket, bro. 100-foot length.
Nobody's launching water rockets, rainbow water rockets at 100 feet in length. And first of all, propulsion.
Yeah, no sound.
Well, think about the physics of this. If something's 100 feet in length, the weight of that to move it would have to be so fast. It couldn't go slow, which tells me it's not legitimate propulsion in the sense of I'm throwing fuel out the back. Mass.
Yeah.
Something else is occurring. It's just basic physics at that point.
Yeah, I mean, if it's going slow.
Not a rocket.
He said, I never have been able to determine to 100% certainty whether or not those rockets were a part of some sort of secret Navy submarine or destroyer test being conducted in the area. I've always assumed that they were not, and for good reason. As an all-tech vessel, we would definitely have been informed that such a test was being undertaken and subsequently warned to stay out of the area.
Yeah, because this is the torpedo retrieval ship / sensitive sonar.
Yeah, and so he said that this had always been the Navy's practice during any kind of test they conducted while working at sea in the same area. So that there's, risk assessment in the military is the number one thing.
That's all they do is risk assess.
Yeah. So you're going to make sure that everyone knows it is very clear that no vessel goes into this area.
Correct.
Especially if you're doing, we used to have that when we have to X-ray, airframes and stuff like that on the helicopters. You'd have NDI, And, you know, that's like throwing out mass radiation.
Yeah, that X-ray is huge.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's like that's like everybody.
You want children?
Yeah.
Get away from the X-ray machine.
Yeah, it's funny. All the NDI people, all of them had girls.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
They'd be safe about it. You know, of course,
I think
no
you
one
told
wants.
me this before. This
yeah,
is
I think I told you that.
Very interesting.
So it does something to the male. But the male sperms are the laziest anyways. And they're slow. Female sperms.
Can you stop talking about our species and such?
They don't die as quickly.
What's wrong?
The females just crawl right up there. They're like,
what's wrong? That was horrible.
It's great sound effects.
That was a horrible visual. I just had.
Oh, that's so disgusting. Only a higher density living. We're a 501c3.
Not for profit.
We are not for profit talking about.
Absolute jackasses talking about rainbow rockets.
Yes, rainbow. After returning from the voyage, I asked a friend at the Autok base who worked as a sort of air and ocean traffic controller about the
air and ocean.
Yes, air and ocean traffic controller. A sort of.
Is it AAA?
So
somebody call AAA.
Yeah.
What's going on?
He told me that they had no knowledge of any sort of test firing of rockets on that night, and due to the essential nature of his job, he certainly would have been in a position to know.
Cool.
And as a very close friend of mine, he would have told me even if it was supposed to be top secret.
Yeah.
You know, that's how that goes.
I love that.
So the rockets...
I'll tell my friend.
The rockets that travel in such close proximity to each other, i.e. the side-by-side flight that we witness, are at such an unusually slow speed. Students of strange subject matter will, of course, know that there is a history of so-called ghost rocket sightings in other parts of the world. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, tell me about ghost rockets.
Primarily in Sweden. I feel like we're going to have to do some research on ghost rockets.
Yeah, ghost rockets in Sweden. That's are you serious? Sweden? And isn't that funny that it's like such a thing?
Yeah, so this was interesting. He did some research in the area that he was at.
Oh, they got pictures of him in Sweden. Sweden, 1946. Ghost rockets. They were... Oh, yeah, these are sweet.
Those are probably Nazi ghost rockets.
Yeah, dude, these are cool.
1946.
No. Oh, they're... These...
I mean, 46 was... When did the war end? 45, right?
Yeah. So these... it's really interesting. These
Nordic
pictures.
rockets.
Those are both coming... Yeah, Yeah. They're Viking. They're the new Viking ship.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to do some research on it, but they do have some cool pics. I have
you guys
no
will
idea
have to,
how legit the ghost
for our
rocket
audio
is.
only listeners, we always try to make sure we describe what we're looking at.
Imagine a rocket mixed with a unicorn flying slowly above the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, this is hilarious.
While you stand on a lightly rocking ship in the middle of the night.
So he it sounds like a great time. He found some other ghost rocket stories. There's something, once again, I was describing this in our Tartle meeting last night when we were talking about primordial things that, like, I would say men and women experience.
Yep.
You know, and war's one of those. There's something weird in your DNA about that. Standing on a ship and not seeing any land, and just being on that ship is so peaceful feeling. I see why people get addicted to it.
Oh, it's very addicting.
I was on Navy ships.
I grew up my life on the ocean.
Yeah.
My entire life, like a great majority of my life was grown up on the ocean. And I'd be out there. Nothing around. Zilch. And you get there in the quiet mornings and the water has this almost this like
drink some coffee.
Interesting,
relax.
like little concave, convex, really beautiful stepless transitioned roundness. And we got the sun coming up and there's always heavy amount of clouds. And like, where the fuck did that seagull come from? Because I'm like 25 miles out. Why is the seagull out here? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, but it's so peaceful. No one's around. That's why people get murdered in international waters. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere else with that thought.
Thrown off of cruise ships.
Yeah.
I think we looked that up before.
Does that happen?
Dude, it's constant. Look how many people get thrown off. How many people, a lot of them hasn't even been recorded. Like they don't, a lot of people commit suicide. Like there was one lady that she wrote a note and stuff like that. And then
cruise ships. Really?
Cruise ships. Yeah, dude. People get drunk, fall off the ledge constantly.
Can we put up some higher walls, please? Nets like it's Foxconn over.
Well, you want to be able to see I could see how it easily would happen because I was on a cruise ship and drinking, and I was cognitive aware enough to know, but I'm like, the rails are only this high. I could easily like
just launch off.
Well, even if you're just horsing around with someone.
Yeah.
You know, you push them a little bit, joking around, and then it's like,
Jim, oh my God, Jim.
Yeah, I think it's probably 1 or 2 people a day.
Yeah, whenever the search directory chooses to lose, I'll bring it up.
So this was interesting. He said that he did some research on these ghost rocket stories, but he wanted to understand the position exactly that the ship was in. And if there was any other incidents, this is logical and sound deduction here.
This is cool.
If there was any other incidents recorded in any materials that he could get in that same exact location.
Okay.
Like, did other mysterious things happen?
So with that location and that heading.
Yes.
At even that time, has anything else occurred? So what did he find out? Because everything gets
2
logged.
ghost rockets was in almost exactly the same area where 2 other strange incidents occurred. One being that of pilot Bruce Gernon's weird experience with what he later called electronic fog. And the other, the mysterious disappearance in 1945 of Flight 19. 5 World War II Navy TBM Avenger bombers and crew that were never heard from again. Bruce Gernon later contacted me and asked if he could include my experience in that area in his book, Beyond the Bermuda Triangle, about electronic fog, another phenomenon that had been reported there, to which I agreed. So electronic fog, that's interesting to me. I'd have to get a better definition of that.
Yeah, like what do you mean by electronic fog? Electronic fog, like is there like little streaks of lightning going through it? Like I'm not sure I totally understand.
Yeah, we'll have to do some research on that.
What's the most important part about his statement? 2 other significantly recorded events by many other well-vetted people have seen similar things occurring in that area.
Yeah, and this was crazy. In 2007, he submitted his Ghost Rockets report to the National UFO Reporting Center. He was later contacted by phone.
Is that X Project Blue Book?
NUFORC's director, Peter Davenport, was very interested in my report. In 2009, I was contacted by the producers from the History Channel show UFO Hunters. They were interested in 2 stories above and asked if I'd be willing to return to the Androsine for an on-camera interview, to which I agreed. In addition, I put the producers in touch with Dave Malcolm, a person whom I had been contacted by in 2007. Dave is also an ex-Alltech employee who in 1972 witnessed something highly unusual in the waters around Andros Island. My story about the strange radar return was the only one of my 2 experiences the UFO Hunters used. Episode 308, Underwater Area 51, is what they called it, the UFO Hunters.
Buzzwords.
Yeah, buzzwords.
Love it.
In 2010, David Malcolm and I again appeared on camera together to discuss our experiences, this time in the Bruce Burgess television special, Return to the Bermuda Triangle, which ran on the Learning Channel. Do they still have the Learning Channel? I don't even know.
I don't think so.
I remember that.
Still cool.
And so they recreated, with an animation, the Ghost Rockets. He said one was with slight inaccuracy. But,
so he's actually critiquing them on their job of doing this.
Yeah. In 2021, I corresponded via email with Klaus Savon, the International Director of UFO Sweden. Klaus is the main investigator who appears in the 2015 film Ghost Rockets, mentioned above.
There was a film called Ghost Rockets? Why have I not seen this? All right, this is great news.
I know, this is great news.
I can't watch Yellowstone when there's Ghost Rockets.
Klaus asked me to describe my Ghost Rocket sightings in a bit more detail and I sent him the following. So here's another. So he went into detail with the Ghost Rockets. This is what he sent him. This is interesting. The night was very clear. As you could see the stars above. The sighting occurred sometime in August of 1985. Myself and another guy were standing watch aboard ship. I was steering and he was navigating. We were on the midnight to 4 a.m. shift. I estimated the time was about 1 a.m., possibly a bit later. We first noticed 2 bright objects in the sky dead ahead of the ship. As the objects passed overhead, we could see that they were long and cylindrical, white-colored, and were traveling side by side of each other at a very slow rate of speed, almost impossibly slow as still to be able to stay aloft.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's just the physics don't match.
I estimated that each rocket was from 50 to 100 feet long and passed overhead about 500 feet above the ship.
Do you know how big 100 feet is? Like a 100-foot ship is huge.
The size of a house?
Bigger than a house. Most houses are like a decent-sized normal home for people, 65 feet across.
Yeah.
Think
about this. So 50 to 100 feet. So they were both, but they were glowing with a kind of diffused light all on the length of each rocket.
Well, diffusion tells me that they are these photons of light. If it's diffused,
it's white and diffused.
Tells me that
they were neon bulbs.
It creates an even, it's in very even field. For it to diffuse itself means that the energy is so potent by the time it leaves, I don't know, a couple inches past the actual material of the hull, it's the half-life or whatever the energy itself has dissipated greatly. Does that make sense? I feel like I got into the wrong career.
I know, yeah. You should have been into ghost rockets.
Or physics.
They were both emitting some kind of contrail that looked at first like white smoke. The smoke lingered after the rockets passed overhead and out of sight. Then the smoke began to change colors, from white to green to blue to pink.
Yeah.
Hung in the air for about 5 to 10 minutes and disappeared. I estimate that from the time that we saw the rockets until they had passed overhead and out of sight was about 10 to 15 seconds. But the smoke lingered for much longer in the sky. So I think whenever we look at these situations in the Bermuda Triangle, when we look at this base, when we see the Billy Meyer teachings, we can conclude that something's going on there.
Something legitimately is happening there.
Legitimately.
The raw material talks about
some theory.
You know what the raw material say about the Bermuda Triangle?
Oh, here we go.
So Don Elkins, either way, Dan, asked a question. He said, "Next statement I make may or may not be enlightening to me in my investigation of pyramid energy." Because at the time they were talking about pyramidal energy and healing and stuff like that. Also talked about in the Billy Meyer material. But it's occurred to me that the so-called effect in the so-called Bermuda Triangle is possibly due to the large pyramid beneath the water, which releases the third spiral at a discrete and varying intervals. And when other entities or craft are in the vicinity of this, it creates a situation where they can change the space-time continuum, dimensionally shift, in a certain way. Is this correct? I am raw. Yes. That's all they say. And this is exactly what the Billy Meyer material talked about the Polarian, that there was a base.
I hope we didn't blow this pyramid up with our torpedoes.
We didn't. They blew it up themselves. So there was a large conflict back then. Remember they said there were like 2 Atlantises? Mm-hmm. Same thing. It was just a conflict between
So the Polarians in 1987 said they blew this up.
No, this was 11,000 years ago, blew up.
But so the pyramid blew up.
11,000 years ago.
And there's just remnants of it.
Precisely correct.
And the vortex is still there?
Yeah, because it's a naturally occurring phenomenon, because where our Earth sits at the edge of the
now that makes
cosmic
sense.
electromagnetic energy, there's a lot of interesting...
It's morning time. I'm a little slow, bro.
Yeah, no problem. Where we are relative in space and the way energy from space interacts with the energy of the Earth and its core creates a dimensional shift.
Well, it's funny that it's the Bermuda Triangle, too.
It's always a triangle.
It's like a pyramid.
Yeah, no, it's all there, you know?
So we definitely know something's going on.
Yes.
If we look at the channeling materials, we could probably look at others.
Correct.
And come to conclusions on this. Same thing over and over again. It's interesting to me that we have a military base there. I don't know if it's still there or not, but
this AUTEC?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No, it's absolutely there. Like I said, I just recently, personal conversations, someone who's literally just working down there. I have a bunch of friends at Lockheed Martin that, 2 friends, when I say a bunch, that develop sonar systems.
Well, 2 friends is a bunch for you, bro.
Got me. You're right.
You have more friends than I do. I just sit in my desk and read. And
this is a good spot.
Work
for me.
on Tardal shit.
Yeah, I'm working on a sweet gun.
Exactly.
I'm gonna text like, did you see those ghost rockets?
Bro, I got a picture of some ghost rockets. God damn it! I gotta look at UFOs, and now I gotta look for ghost rockets.
That's what it is.
It's like one thing after the other.
Ghost rocket film came out in 2015. That means it's relatively new for me.
Where can we watch it at? Does it say? Is it on Gaia?
No, I think we can get it on Amazon. Yeah.
I have to buy it.
It's worth the rent.
Oh, yeah.
100%. IMDb gave it a 7.1 out of 10. Good enough for me.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Just the name alone and reading this.
Yeah, no,
I'm in
totally
on Ghost
jacked
Rockets.
up. Best hour and 10 minutes of my life. Well, listen, everybody. Thanks for chatting with us on this conspiracy.